look around your garden right now. Because in about 6 weeks, you're either going to be standing in the middle of something incredible, or you're going to be staring at empty beds wondering where the season went. That gap between those two outcomes. It opens and closes right here, right now, in June. Most people treat June like it's already too late to plant. They missed spring, so they figure they'll wait until next year. And that right there is one of the most costly mistakes a home gardener can make. Not costly in money, costly in lost harvests, wasted garden space, and meals you could have grown yourself. June is not the end of the planting window. For these 9 crops, June is the beginning. And if you're not putting these in the ground this month, I promise you'll feel that. Regret the moment August rolls around. Stay with me through number 7. That one surprises almost every gardener I show it to. If you're new here, welcome to Rooted Harvest. We go deep on real gardening, real harvests, no fluff. Hit subscribe right now because every single week I put out content that is going to change how you grow, all right? Let's get into it. Here's what nobody talks about. The soil in June is finally warm all the way through. Not just the surface, deep down. For certain crops, that warmth is a green light that says go. Seeds that would have rotted in May are going to explode out of the ground right now. Transplants that sulked in April are about to take off like rockets. June planting for these crops is not a compromise. It's the optimal window. Let me prove it. Crop number 1, bush beans. Let's start with the one crop no June garden should be without, bush beans. I know what some of you are thinking. Beans? That's your opener, but hear me out, because most people wildly underestimate what bush beans can do when you plant them right now. Beans need warm soil to germinate properly. Plant them too early, and those seeds sit in cold soil and rot before they ever get a chance. Plant them in June, when soil is sitting at 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and they crack open and shoot up within 5 to 7 days. You will physically watch them push through the soil almost overnight. Here is the part that blows people's minds. Bush beans are ready to harvest in 50 to 60 days from planting. Seeds in the ground this week means fresh beans off the vine by August. This August, not next year. And because bush beans fix nitrogen in the soil as they grow, they are literally feeding your garden while they feed your family. Plant them now, follow them with broccoli or cabbage in fall, and you've just built a back-to-back harvest system most gardeners never think about. The variety to look for is Provider, heat-tolerant, disease-resistant, obscenely productive per square foot. For something more dramatic, try Royal Burgundy, deep purple pods that turn bright green when you cook them. Your guests will lose their minds. Contender is the pick for southern growers, because it handles high heat better than nearly anything else. And whatever you do, stagger your plantings every 2 weeks through early July. Succession planting is the difference between a garden and a harvest machine. There is a reason experienced market gardeners always have beans running in June. They understand something most backyard growers don't. The summer garden is not just about tomatoes and peppers. It is about stacking fast-producing crops into every available window, and beans fill that role better than almost anything. They cost almost nothing to seed, demand very little attention, and deliver harvest after harvest when you stay on succession planting. A 10-foot row planted today can easily produce 15 to 20 pounds of fresh beans over its productive life. Crop number 2, cucumbers. Crop number 2, cucumbers. And if you've ever grown cucumbers and ended up with sad, bitter, yellowing fruit by midsummer, I'm about to tell you exactly what went wrong. Cucumbers thrive when you direct-sow them into already warm soil, which is exactly what June gives you. Seed to first harvest in 50 to 65 days, depending on variety. That means you plant today and you're harvesting by mid to late August. Most people don't realize that the window is still completely open. The biggest mistake? Overwatering seedlings early. People see the leaves wilt slightly in afternoon heat and flood the base every single day. Young cucumber roots need air just as much as moisture. Let the top inch of soil dry out between waterings. You will build a far stronger root system. After they take off, keep them consistently moist. But in that early stage, back off. Trellis every cucumber you plant. Vertical growth keeps them off the soil, dramatically cuts disease pressure, and produces straighter fruit with better flavor. Marketmore 76 is your workhorse. Space Master is built for containers and small raised beds. And if you want something that stops people in their tracks, plant a lemon cucumber. Round, pale yellow, mild and crisp, and every single person who sees it in your garden is going to ask you what on earth that plant is. Drop your Usta zone in the comments right now. I want to know where you're growing, because some of what I'm about to share gets even more powerful, depending on your zone. Zone 4 or Zone 9, I want to hear from all of you. Crop number 3, zucchini and summer squash, if you want the fastest return in your entire June garden. This is it. Zucchini and summer squash. 45 to 55 days from seed to your first harvest. Under 2 months. Plant this week and you are eating before September. Here is what nobody warns first-time zucchini growers about. This plant is almost aggressively productive. Plant 2, and by late July you will be leaving bags of zucchini on your neighbor's porch at midnight, hoping they don't know it was you. It does not stop. It just keeps going. The secret to keeping it producing all season is one simple habit. Harvest early and harvest often. The moment a zucchini hits 6 to 8 inches, pick it. Here is what happens when you leave one on the vine too long. It swells into something the size of a baseball bat. The plant dumps all its energy into that one oversized fruit, and production drops completely. Pick small. Pick often. That plant rewards you for weeks. Black Beauty is a classic. Golden Egg and Patio Star are perfect for containers. And here is a tip most people skip entirely. Zucchini flowers are edible. Stuff them with ricotta and herbs, dip them in light batter, fry for 2 minutes, and you have an appetizer from your own garden that costs you nothing and will absolutely floor anyone you serve it to. Watch for powdery mildew as humidity rises. Give plants good airflow, avoid overhead watering, and hit the first sign of that white dusty coating immediately with a diluted baking soda spray. Here is something most videos skip entirely. The male flowers appear first, usually 1 to 2 weeks before any female flowers open. Early on, you will see flowers dropping from the plant without forming fruit, and gardeners panic, thinking something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Those are the males. The females look different. Look at the base of the bloom. If there is a tiny miniature squash already forming behind the flower, that is your future harvest. Once both male and female flowers are open and bees are visiting your garden, zucchini production begins in earnest and does not let up. Crop number 4, sweet potatoes. This is the one most northern gardeners skip, and I want to fix that right now. Sweet potatoes. And I'm going to tell you something that will genuinely surprise you. Research from multiple university extension programs has shown that sweet potato slips planted in warm June soil actually outperform slips planted a month earlier in cold soil. Planting in June can get you a better yield than planting in May. Why? Because sweet potatoes are tropical plants from the morning glory family. They want their feet hot. Cold soil stresses the roots before they ever establish, and you end up with stunted plants, producing maybe a third of what they're capable of. Plant slips in early June. You are harvesting mid-September to early October, about 90 to 120 days. Each single slip can produce 3 to 5 full-size sweet potatoes underground. That math adds up fast. If you're in zones 5 and 6, lay black plastic over your bed a week or two before planning to pre-warm the soil. In zones 7 through 11, you're already set. Beauregard is the most popular variety for a reason. Reliable, high-yielding, with that deep orange flesh loaded with beta-carotene. Georgia Jet is your pick for northern growers because it matures faster than most. Vardaman is a compact bush type, perfect for gardens where you don't want trailing vines taking over, and do not skip curing after harvest. Store sweet potatoes somewhere warm, around 80 to 85 degrees, for 10 to 14 days. Starches convert to sugar during this process. Skip it, and you'll wonder why yours tastes bland. Cure properly, and they become the best sweet potatoes you've ever eaten. Something most people never think about with sweet potatoes. The vines are edible. The leaves can be cooked exactly like spinach or kale, sautéed with garlic and olive oil. In parts of Asia and Africa, the greens are considered just as valuable as the root. So while your sweet potatoes spend 90 to 120 days developing underground, you have a secondary harvest happening above ground the entire time. This is a plant that gives you food at multiple points from one single planting, and that kind of yield per square foot of garden is genuinely hard to beat. Crop number 5, okra. I want to talk about a crop that people either love intensely or have never touched in their life. Okra. And if you've never grown it, I want to make the case for why this June is the time to start. Okra is one of the very few vegetables that actually prefers it when temperatures climb above 85 or even 90 degrees. While your other plants start struggling in July heat, your okra is going to look at that weather and say, "Give me more." It is the most heat-tolerant food crop on this entire list. In the South, it has been a garden staple for generations for exactly that reason. A single plant in ideal conditions can produce more than 30 pods, 30, per plant. And it keeps producing all summer as long as you keep harvesting. Here is the harvest mistake that ruins okra for so many people. They wait too long to pick. They see pods getting bigger and think bigger means better. Once an okra pod gets past 4 inches, the cell walls start lignifying. They get tough, stringy, and woody. It is unpleasant to eat. Harvest at 2 to 4 inches. Check every single day during peak production. If you find a pod past 6 inches, cut it off and compost it immediately. Leaving an overripe pod signals the plant to slow down. Remove it, and that plant pushes out more flowers within days. Clemson spineless is the recommendation for most gardens. High-yielding, easy to harvest, widely available. Red burgundy is stunning if you want something dramatic. Deep burgundy pods that turn green when cooked. Soak your seeds overnight before planting. That one step can improve germination significantly and gets you off to a faster, stronger start. One more thing about okra most guides skip. When you harvest, wear gloves and long sleeves. Most standard varieties have fine hairs on pods and stems that cause skin irritation. It is not dangerous, just uncomfortable. Clemson Spineless was developed partly to address this, and is gentler on the skin than older heirloom types. Even with spineless, gloves make harvesting faster and more comfortable, which matters when you are checking plants every single day during peak summer production. If you are learning something real today and you want to be the most knowledgeable grower in your neighborhood, smash that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this channel reach more gardeners just like you. 4 more crops to go, and they only get better from here. Crop number 6, basil. I know what you're thinking. Basil? On a regret list? And I want you to sit with that reaction for a second, because basil is one of the most useful, most versatile, most productive plants in the home garden, and it is one of the most consistently planted wrong. Basil is a tropical herb that needs warm nights. Below 50 degrees, it takes damage. That is why people who rush to plant it in April or May end up with weak, yellowing, disappointing plants. June is actually basil's sweet spot. Warm soil, warm nights, long days. It takes off fast and stays productive for months. Direct sow or transplant in June, and you are harvesting your first leaves in 25 to 30 days. The fastest producing crop on this entire list. Here is the move most people miss. Once the plant reaches about 6 inches, start pinching the top 2 leaves off the main stem every single week. This forces the plant to branch and become full and bushy instead of bolting straight up to flower. The moment basil flowers, leaves turn bitter and production drops. Pinch weekly and one plant can supply your entire kitchen through October. Plant it next to your tomatoes. Basil repels aphids and certain flying insects that target tomato plants, and many growers swear it improves the flavor of the tomatoes themselves. Genovese is the classic large-leaf Italian basil. Thai basil brings a spicy anise flavor that completely transforms Asian dishes. Lemon basil is extraordinary in salads, drinks, and desserts, and is wildly underused by home cooks. Plant all 3 if you have the space. Each has a different flavor profile, and they look beautiful growing side by side. Crop number 7, corn. Here it is. Crop number 7, the one I told you to stick around for. Corn. And before you tell me you don't have the space, I want you to hear the full picture, because this requires one specific piece of knowledge that most guides never share, and it will completely change how you think about growing corn at home. Corn planted in June matures in August to September. That is fresh, sweet, homegrown corn at the exact height of summer. Except yours costs you almost nothing, and you eat it the same day you pick it. And if you have never eaten corn pulled fresh from your own garden and cooked within an hour, I need you to understand that it is a completely different food from what you buy at the grocery store. The sugars in corn begin converting to starch the moment the ear is picked. Grocery store corn has been sitting for days. What you grow in your garden is in a different category entirely. Now here is that critical piece. The single most common corn mistake that destroys home garden yields. People plant corn in a single long row. Do not do this. Corn is wind-pollinated. Every kernel on a cob needs a grain of pollen from a tassel to fall directly onto the silk below. In a single row, most of that pollen blows sideways and disappears. You end up with cobs that have gaps, missing kernels, and a disappointing harvest. Plant corn in a block, 4 rows minimum, side by side, plants 12 inches apart. Pollen falls straight down through the block, and nearly every silk strand gets hit. That single change will transform everything. Peaches and Cream is a classic bicolor variety, sweet and consistent. Honey Select is an F1 hybrid that is exceptionally sweet, disease-resistant, and matures around 80 days. Silver Queen is the old-school southern favorite, tall and full-flavored, worth the 92 days it takes to mature. Crop number 8, Pumpkins. Here is one of my favorite pieces of this entire video, because what I'm about to tell you has a specific date attached to it, and I want you to feel the weight of that timing. If you plant pumpkins in mid to late June, you will be harvesting them in October, right in time for Halloween and Thanksgiving. You are planting right now for a harvest timed to one of the most emotionally charged moments of the fall season. And there is something genuinely special about carving a pumpkin that you grew in your own backyard from a seed you put in the ground this month. Pumpkins need 90 to 120 days to mature. Mid-June to mid-October is almost exactly right for most of the country. Zones 3 through 5 should plant in early June to be safe. Zones 6 through 9 have flexibility into late June. They need full sun. Genuine full sun, 6 to 8 hours minimum. They need space at least 50 square feet per plant. And soil pH between 6.0 and 6.8. If your soil runs acidic, work in garden lime a few weeks before planting. Howden is the classic carving pumpkin, deep ribbing, bright orange, perfect for Halloween. Sugar pie is your best choice for cooking, with dense sweet flesh that makes extraordinary pies and soups. Wee Bee Little is a mini variety perfect for smaller spaces. And if you want the conversation starter of the season, look for Cinderella pumpkins. Flat, deeply ribbed, almost fairy tale in appearance. They stop people in their tracks. Amend your soil generously with compost before planting and keep pollinators welcome in your garden, because without them, pumpkin flowers will wither and drop without ever setting fruit. One more crop, and then a bonus that might be the most underrated pick on this entire list. Before we get there, tell me in the comments which of these 8 crops you're most excited to plant. And if this has been useful and you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. Crop number 9, southern peas, black-eyed peas. Crop number 9. Almost nobody outside the South is growing, and it is genuinely one of the most underrated vegetables you can put in a warm season garden. Southern peas, also known as black-eyed peas, cowpeas, crowder peas, or purple hull peas, depending on where you grew up. Southern peas thrive in heat that makes most vegetables quit completely. July and August heat? Perfect. Minimal watering? Fine. Poor soil? They handle it and improve it simultaneously because they are nitrogen-fixing legumes. They enrich your soil while they grow. You don't fertilize them. You don't fuss over them. You plant in June, mostly leave them alone, and they give you pods ready to harvest in 60 to 70 days for fresh eating, or 80 to 100 days if you want to dry and store them. Here is what I think is the most compelling thing about this crop. Most of the country completely ignores it. Search YouTube for summer garden vegetables, and you will see the same 10 crops recycled endlessly. But in the Deep South, southern peas are not optional. They have fed families through brutal summers for generations because they are reliable, nutritious, and they ask almost nothing. If you're in zones 5 through 11, you can grow these. And the reaction you are going to have when you shell fresh black-eyed peas and cook them for the first time, it will make you wonder why you haven't been growing them for years. It is a completely different experience from anything dried or canned. California black-eye no. 5 is the most widely available variety, and it performs consistently across climates. Purple hull pink eye is the showstopper. Beautiful pods that shift from purple to cream as they mature, and the flavor is exceptional. One warning: southern peas hate waterlogged soil. Do not over-irrigate. Plant in well-draining ground, water when the top inch is dry, and then step back and let these plants do what they were built to do. They ask almost nothing and give back tremendously. You have 9 crops, but knowing what not to plant in June might save your garden just as much as anything else I've covered today. If you are in zone 6 and above, stop planting cool season crops right now. Spinach, peas, standard kale, arugula, head lettuce. These plants evolve for cool spring temperatures. Above 75 to 80 degrees they bolt. Bolting means the plant shifts all energy away from producing leaves and into flowering and seeding. Leaves become small, bitter, and tough. Once it starts, you cannot reverse it. I see this mistake every single season. Gardeners buying kale and pea transplants from the nursery in June, planting with high hopes, and wondering 2 weeks later why everything is shooting up and tasting terrible. The nursery sold you the plant. That does not mean June is the right time to plant it. And do not plant pumpkins in July. June is your window. Plant in July across most of the country, and you are racing your first fall frost. You might get there, you might not. You'll spend the entire season anxious. Plant in June, and that pressure comes completely off the table. 9 crops plus the bonus. Here is the quick version of everything we covered. Bush beans for the fastest warm soil return and soil improvement with every harvest. Cucumbers trellised vertically for disease resistance and summer abundance. Zucchini for the highest production-to-effort ratio in the garden, harvested small and often. Sweet potatoes planted in warm June soil for a fall harvest that will genuinely surprise you. Okra for relentless summer production when everything else slows down in the heat. Basil pinched weekly for months of fresh herbs plus natural pest control in one plant. Corn grown in a block, not a row, for full pollination and the sweetest ears you have ever tasted. Pumpkins going in this month for a Halloween and Thanksgiving harvest that feels like pure magic. And southern peas, the underdog of the June garden, drought-tolerant, soil-improving, and more delicious when eaten fresh than most people have ever experienced. Here is what I need from you right now. Tell me in the comments which of these you are planting first. Not which one you're thinking about. Which one is going in the ground this week? I read every comment on this channel, and I genuinely want to know what is happening in your garden. If this video gave you something useful today, please subscribe, because this channel is dedicated to making you the most productive, most knowledgeable grower you can be, one video at a time. This is Rooted Harvest. Go plant something today.